I've never really spoken about the fears that I have about getting older.
It's sedentary lifestyle. The problem here is you don't have any real choice in terms of foods, dietary choices, things like that. It's what the state provides.
My name is David, and I've been in prison for 40 years.
When I first come to prison, 1986 at the Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City, it was like fun. Getting to the point where it's harder to walk, it's harder to breathe, and the ultimate fear of, when am I going to leave the planet? So for basically the first probably 15, 20 years, I didn't have a care in the world. There were no checks and balances, really, when I came to prison. You could pretty much get away with anything. As long as you weren't making a problem for the COs, they didn't make a problem for you. Normally you would assume, right, if you get locked up, right, you lose your freedom, but there are freedoms in prison. There were programs, but I definitely wasn't ready for a program. I was full-blown in my addiction, and that was probably the most time-consuming thing that I did. Go find something to get high on.
Kendra a little cold.
I always do.
We wanted up in the 90s. If it's in the 80s, then that means it's too low and you're not getting enough oxygen.
After about 20 years, I finally got to the point where I pretty much just quit getting high, started trying to make some changes in my life. But I've always struggled with depression, addiction, and anger. That combination is pretty lethal in prison. He was recommending a bypass.
Right. He can recommend, but if the surgeon says, I'm not going to do it,
Right.
it's not in your best interest, and the surgeon trumps.
But if the medication ain't working and I'm still getting the same amount of pain, now it's getting to a point where I'm having a problem walking for any length of a distance.
Okay, so it's getting worse, is what you're telling me?
Yeah. The first 2 years of my life, my mother was in a mental hospital. She was suffering from schizophrenia and was being treated, and I lived with my grandparents in New York City until she was released. It was just a normal childhood except for the violence. It was in the home. At times, my mother was normal, and at times, she was in the clutches of schizophrenia. When I was 8, my mother hung me. Asked me to come in the bathroom and tied a sash around my neck and around the shower rod and pushed me off the side of the tub. And my sister, who was 15 at the time, walked by and found me. And all this time, when my mother committed suicide, I'd made up my mind that there was no such thing as God. And if there was, then he's at war with me because he took the one thing that I loved away from me. And all the anger that I'd had in him became so compounded that as far as I'm concerned, he was to blame. In 1985, I was charged with first-degree murder. The day that I committed murder, I was angry all day long. I was plotting revenge all day long. And was working for a guy in Kansas City that had a lawn service. Had a disagreement, went to a bar that night and got drunk. Went back to his house, walked in his house, he was asleep in bed, and walked up to him and shot him and killed him. The first thing that they asked for was the death penalty. And eventually I pled guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole. My conventional wisdom when it comes to whether or not I believe I should be in prison, I believe that I should have been punished for committing murder. Do I believe that I should still be here 40 years later? It'd be real easy for me to say no. But on the other hand, if I looked at it from the point of view of the victim's family, yeah, I should be here. When I came to prison, I was 35 years old. And now I'm 75. And 40 years ago, I was an entirely different human being. I'm entirely a different person now. I don't think the same way. I don't even believe the same things any longer. Now, I 100% believe that everybody has a right to exist. 2018, I lost my last surviving sibling, my sister. And if I could have found a drug to take me out of this situation, I would have left the planet gladly. Didn't. Wound up getting high on K2, went to the hole. In the process of being in the hole, I pretty much reconnected with God, who I'd kicked out the car 60 years ago. The peace that I have in this reality of prison is the faith that I have in God. I'm like, hey, whatever happens, happens. You know, I've been blessed. I accept whatever he decides. And amazingly, while some of the acquaintances that I've known over the years died of hepatitis C and liver disease and cirrhosis from all the drugs, I kept on ticking. The greatest gift that he gave me is the ability to smile at somebody and disarm them. I'd be like, hey, what's up? Peace, no drama. And I'm like, wow, why couldn't I learn that 50 years ago? And all these lessons that I'm learning now are all the lessons that parents teach their kids. I just didn't get it. That's the one thing I don't like about being old, is that it took me so long to figure this out. I'm like, man, come on, really? Man, what a slow learner. That's the ultimate.
How's the morning been for you?
Woke up, that's 90% of it. I've been incarcerated since I was 35 years old, and now I'm on my 40th year. Been a minute.